Utie oha echi ponkno. Needs FM.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at 2018 to 2022, just about 4 years, I don't think that anybody would be a delegate, now who would not award of the political scenario 2018. It means that even for you to become a delegate, if you look at the internal system, people actually socialize with the political party for some time before they get the opportunity to become delegates. So for us, said that it was his time. And for us to say that a lot of people, I think it's difficult to reconcile. Because certainly, 4 years down the line, they probably had deepened the understanding or the awareness of Allah, or they were not within the political pattern at all. Of course, people can change their position. So if you say that at the time they prepared and now is not, I can understand. But for you to say that at the time he was a prepared, but now majority of just okay, I think it's difficult to understand.
But could it be said in 2018, those who preferred Chemate in the majority are no longer in existence in 2022?
Of course, you could argue that, but it would be a stretch to actually argue that a lot of them are no longer in existence. Knowing the cycle of internal party processes, most people retain positions, or those who didn't retain their position, or those who were not even the leadership earlier, will certainly have a certain awareness of that particular candidate. Some of them might have actually entered being Alan, supporters, and they were not there. Alan supporters, some people who are Alan supporters might have entered, but you wouldn't have a seat change as the analysis is actually suggested. I don't think so. It's just a matter of 4 years. You wouldn't have a completely seat change like that. You could have a certain 10 point, maybe 15 point, percentage point reduction in his popularity or not, but you couldn't have a complete substantive decline if we have to go by the 2018 analysis compared with current analysis. I don't think it's realistic.
Just before you go, Dr. Kobby Mensah, lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, with a specialty in political marketing. With the 3 main persons named, or we talk about them this afternoon, Alan Chemate, Dr. Bawumia, Kennedy Akompreko Japan. In 2018, Benepson is told, and he repeats it to us in a third-person reportage, say, Kennedy Japan, Nakuma enye, Dr. Bawumia, or young in Nuno so, Alan Chemate, Adruno so. As a political marketer, look at it, evaluate it yourself, process it yourself. What would you want to say about Kobby Mensah?
I think that, and it's not based on any data, it's just based on theoretical analysis. If you look at 2 candidates, Alan and President, Vice President, Bawumia, you can see a certain mobility in their brand image. Obviously, prior to 2016, Bawumia has quite a lot of reservations around him, which we know, which is a fact. Of course, his performance in the court case, and then, of course, his performance in the election actually moved him very higher in terms of voters likability, or I should put it, maybe NPP supporters and sympathizers likability. So he had a complete change of his brand image. Fast forward 2020, and there's a complete decline of Bawumia's likability. It is no secret And this is a fact, of course, based on what we see and people's comments, etc. Even within his own camp, they couldn't claim that his level of brand acceptability prior to 2016 is at the same level as now. Anyone who would actually take that argument really is not oblivious of the political system. Now, take Alan Chamate, for example. Clearly, before 2016, let's say the early part of 2000 or 2007, of course, everybody would say that he and Ronaldo were at that level. Now, fast forward into the government 2016, 2020, he had been somehow on the lying low, as somebody would like to say, certainly for many reasons, because the competition between him and Ronaldo is over. Now Ronaldo is the president. So you wouldn't have a minister trying to upstage his president. It wouldn't happen. It doesn't happen in Europe. It doesn't happen in America. When Obama competed with Clinton after the election, Clinton had to lie low. I mean, she had to lie low. She became, the secretary of the. I've forgotten the position, but yes. But in the next, period, she decided to resign so that she could give Obama, the space to operate, and that's how political competition is. You, at a time of competition, you will compete aggressively. When somebody ascends the throne, you go under fire. And so you could argue that his brand, in terms of, visibility, publicity, has taken a certain level because he's no longer competing with another. So he's on top. If you take, Kennedy Tapon, for example, I don't think that majority of Ghanaians, from what we see and anecdotal evidence, actually would ascribe presidential characteristics to Kennedy. But I don't think himself earlier, before the time that he made the decision, would have actually thought that way. Although his brand awareness or brand recognition was high, it wasn't within the realm of a presidential candidate. Of course, now he's taking a different decision, and I'm sure he probably will be undergoing a certain rebranding of his image. But if we talk about at the level of presidential brand awareness, at the level of presidential brand image, you couldn't actually compare Japan to Sanchama and to Vice President Bawumia. That is not
right. So, in political branding, since 2007, Alan Shematin has branded himself Alan Cash, jobs for the people, cash for the people. Of the three persons, has anybody been able to make a political brand of that nature?
Well, you could argue that, Vice President Bawumia, certain brand entity, obviously, very common, very prior to 20, we knew that, yeah, everybody economic awareness, the way he from the front. So he has a particular brand image around, all around. Now, that's why to people who believe in that brand, I think it's a challenge. Now, it takes, and for example, over the years, so his brand identity has off along the line. Well, would you say that quite a lot of people have that in a reflection? Perhaps a certain number of people, and as the penalty said, within the general voter population, may not necessarily have that particular brand image because they probably might not have engaged the political system actively as the activists of the NPP or the followers of the NPP might have done. So if you take a general political population, as in the general voters, some may not have that inclination of job for the people, cash for the people. But I'm sure that those in the political party party NPP, especially activist delegates, would definitely have a very great, amount of, capitalization of allies as such.
Dr. Kobby Mensah, you know where we, but then there's a new information. We may need to process it and send a beer from a Friday now.
Utie Oha Echi Ponkno Needs FM.